All right, everyone. All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Welcome back to another episode of the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. Oh, how we miss him. We're usually here for you all on Friday nights, but the first Friday of every month, the Kevin Samuels channel comes out with new content. So we're going to go ahead and do our reaction for you all tonight and then see you all in the chat tomorrow night on Kevin's channel. I am Maggie. Maggie, the substitute teacher, is my cooking channel, and you all know and love Lucchese. Lucy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Maggie. Hi, everyone. I have a channel. It was mostly to teach basic Spanish, basic to mid advanced Spanish, but this year I've switched it over a little bit for content about women's issues, femininity, elegance, and anything over 50, including cultural issues. So I will be posting something probably next week. But the way I know Maggie and I got involved in the Wives Club is because I used to be a moderator for The Godfather. And we used to just enjoy the topics and the guests and the comments and all that we learned through his channel. And he's greatly missed, especially how we're seeing modern society kind of, in a way, decline. But hopefully, as wives, we will be helping the new generations learn a little more how to be better wives.
Absolutely. So what we do in the Wives Club is we always respond to Kevin Samuels' content. If you all want to be counted present, feel free to shout yourselves out. So I took some notes in my phone here, and as per usual, Kevin's titles are very, very striking. So this one is Young Woman with Useless Degree Wants High Value Man. And y'all, it's almost painful to listen to, but this one was another, I think, about 20 or 30-minute episode. So I highly encourage you all to take a listen to it. There were 2 callers in this episode, so we'll review both of them. I've dropped the link per usual if you all have any other response to this after we have shared our feedback. Feel free to join the conversation. You can always be camera on or camera off, your choice. All right. So this was a clip from a longer live stream. And there were 2 women that called in this clip. So we'll talk about the first one. It was a young woman, and it was really heartbreaking to hear. She was in her, I believe, early 20s, and she was dating a man that was older than her, much older than her. Let's see, he is 34. He was 34. She is 22. And so Kevin started asking questions, and we talked about age gap. There's nothing wrong with that. But one of the questions that Kevin asked her, well, one of the first things that he said is he had to correct her speech multiple times. So I'll just take a step back. And I know young people, especially, are so casual now. The texting, the communication has gotten kind of lax. But I would just say, when speaking with older people, you want to really try and communicate effectively. He would ask her a question and she would say, mm-hmm, uh-huh. And he would correct her. He said, yes, is that a yes? We say yes or no. And she was like, uh-huh. And once again, I just kind of dropped my head because for two reasons, ladies, we believe in the older women teaching the young here, but a man will show you and tell you what his expectations are once, maybe twice if you're lucky, and then they will stop talking. So I really want the ladies to really listen to the men. Kevin was trying to help her, but especially when you're dating an older man, even if you're younger, that's fine, but you want to show up as the best version of yourself. And communication is a huge part of that. What would you add to that, Lucy?
It's so funny you mentioned that because on my notes, I have here that says mm-hmm to yes. And that is, he made sure that, it's part of that etiquette and those manners that we are to teach our younger uh, folks, our younger people, that when you're speaking to someone that is not within your family, err on the side of being too polite. So when you're addressing someone that is not part of your immediate family or is older, you just don't say mm-hmm. You say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and that is something that we have lost um, in translation. So I loved that part that even though he was going to guide her on something else, he also brought her back into the manners portion.
Yes, ladies, that goes a long way. So that was my first point on that one. And then the age gap. So she's 22, he was 34. So that is a 12-year age gap. It is large, it's not impossible. The problem is that Kevin asked her several questions about, okay, you're dating this man. To what end? And she kind of stumbled around, and he was like, this is not okay. Ladies, the reason why you may date a man who's older is because he is established and he's ready right now. And what Kevin was telling her is that there is no reason why a 34-year-old man would date a 22-year-old woman without a plan. He needs to be able to tell you, and this applies to all ladies. Ladies, when you're interested in dating, and I will always say, the purpose of dating is to see if this is a suitable match for marriage or long term. It's not about just getting dressed up and going to a nice restaurant. We're really vetting each other. So when a man is selecting a woman to be his wife, he should have a vision for the role that she is going to play in his life. Kevin said that often, a wife is a job. And so the fact that he had not said anything, according to her, he had not said anything about it, they were just kind of dating, was unacceptable, which led Kevin down some other questions. But Lucy, I'm going to ask what you would add to that.
I was listening to the video last night and then this morning, and that portion of that video, it was while I was falling asleep. So I would come in and out, but I remember him saying, asking her, I think he asked her how she had met him, right? And it was social media DMs. It wasn't even anything about her going out there like we tell you in other discussions that we've had. The best way to meet someone is if you go out there one on one in person. These long distance social media Meeting people, it's it's a little scary, at least to me. I because I'm old school. I think it's the best way to know where somebody is coming from is to see them, look at them in the eyes, talk to them, and say and kind of use your intuition whether that person has good intentions or not. There is no way that you are going to find out online, social media, DMs, or anything like that, whether that person has good intentions or not. And then also that goes back to, I think Kevin asked them about where's the dad? Is the dad involved? So that's another thing that usually in when as ladies we generally involve our dads, our brothers, our cousins, our tios, our uncles. So again, that goes back to, who is guiding this young lady?
That is exactly true, and that's where I was going next. So, the takeaway, and ladies, I always like to make sure you have tangible tips that you can take away from these episodes. When you are dating or when a man approaches you, hopefully it's in person, but if it's online, you should be able to ask him what are his goals? What are his intentions? And I always say that it's great to have these conversations early, not interrogation style, but just kind of the conversation before things get too attached. I would say something like, I've always seen myself as a wife and mother. I hope it happens for me one day. So you kind of just drop that in there and then you ask him, what does success look like to you? What does relationship success look like to you? And then stop and listen. And if he cannot articulate his vision for his own life and what he wants his woman to do for him, I would say he's not talked about it. So when Kevin found out that this 22-year-old woman was dating a 34-year-old man and she didn't even really know what they were doing or why they were dating, he was like, "Where's your father?" And then it went off the deep end. So apparently her mother and father divorced. I think she said when she was about 14 or something like that. Mom remarried and she had no contact with her father. She actually used the word that he was abusive. And so, that was a trigger for Kevin. And so now he is really going to go in and he's going to ask you, "Oh, okay, explain that." And she kind of tap danced around, he was kind of like emotionally abusive. I mean, he didn't really do anything to me, but he had problems with my mom. And that's when Kevin stopped her. He was like, "Young lady, basically, you are out of line. That was your mom and dad's relationship. That had nothing to do with you and him. He is still your father." And he asked her, "Well, what does your stepdad say about it?" And she was like, "Nobody really talks about him." And I quote, I encourage you all to listen to this episode. I linked it in the description. She said, "He's kind of like a ghost." And that just broke my heart in two. This man has half of his DNA out here and no contact. And then she went on to say, "I always, thought about reaching out to him." She's 22 now, but I was always discouraged. And he said, "Who discouraged you?" "My mom." So we're going to park and unpack that. Ladies, we need to separate a man's parenting ability from his compatibility with us. I've shared with you all, I've had 2 successful relationships, one a 10-year marriage, 2 like a 14-year long term. And even though the relationship between me and my ex-husband didn't work out, he is an amazing dad. The boys actually live with him now that they're teenagers and they come to visit me. I can't imagine robbing them of that. Children get their identity from their father. And so I was just heartbroken, and she had no idea how much she just had this hole, which is going to lead to other things that you're searching for. And so we women too, as older women, we cannot poison these children against their father. Whatever had with us, whatever happened to us, I take that to my grave. Don't burden your children with your relationship issues, because they're always going to love their dad or their mom, and they should. What would you add to that, Lucy?
And it's interesting that the relationship that she was talking about was 14 years older than she is, which shows that there's some father daddy issues there. He's looking for that father type I'm not sure how it's parental type relationship, maybe in a way, because she did not have that father figure in her life. So it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because that as women, we can definitely can I mean, I have seen it. I don't have any children, but I have seen it time and time again how some women tend to put the children as a tug of war. And it's they create this horrible picture for the children about the other side, that when children grow up and actually talk to their parents, they become resentful for not being be able to talk to their dad during those years. So it's a shame. It's a shame, and we need to stop being selfish that way.
Oh, that is so true. And the ripple effects just continue to go on. I love that. We have Abraski. He says, absolutely, Mrs. Lucchese and Miss Maggie. Online encounters perpetuate the consumerist mentality, believing and treating people like they are disposable. Yes, I mean, we have talked a lot about social media, and it can be a useful tool. We are here sharing our little part of the internet, hoping to make a drop in the bucket for those of you who believe in traditional gender roles and traditional relationships. I always say marriage and long term isn't for everybody. You can do your hot girl summer over there, but over here we promote real lasting relationships. And social media can have definitely a positive. It can be a positive resource, but it can also be like damaging, almost like it's a meat market. And a woman at 22, yes, you're fully grown, and yes, you're legal and you're an adult, but you're still very young. We all remember ourselves in the 20s, and you're out here navigating something with a man much your senior, and you don't have anybody really guiding you, so much so that you're calling into Kevin Samuels. And one of the comments that he made that I took a note about is he said, we women, and he was saying collectively, this wasn't her fault, or maybe it was. After 18, she could have reached out to her dad, but she was poisoned against him. He said, we're so used to throwing men away that now we don't understand men. So then when you get into the dating world, you're lost because you don't know how men move. You don't know how men communicate. You don't really have the discernment to know, okay, is he playing games with me or is he serious? That's what fathers and uncles and brothers and the men that protect you, that's what they do, because they know we are women, and we love and we get excited, and we just, we see some of us, we see all the good things that can happen. And because men are hunters and they're protectors, they're looking for those chinks in the armor. And a man can check another man in a way that a woman never could. And ladies, I always say we're equally valued, but we're not equal. And so she's out here just completely lost. And I really loved what he said about that. So our first image of what relationship is comes from the example that we had at home. And, I'm so grateful. Both Lucy and I had a traditional upbringing, but you see that and you're just like, oh, okay, that's what a daddy does. That's what a husband does. Oh, that's what a mom does. So I'll be like that. And I know it's not the same for everyone, but when that is a vacuum in your life, when it's a void, you're just figuring it out. And now the learning curve, that ship has sailed. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. And unfortunately, a lot of these young ladies are learning by what they see on TikTok, IG, on YouTube. And, they're just, it's like there are cornucopia of ideas that they haven't really experienced. There, if you hear them talking, you can hear the language from other different people, but it's not from them. It's not their experience. It's somebody else's experience that they project as if that was theirs. So again, all they hear, all they see, it's something that is virtual, but they have never experienced what it is to go out there and speak to a young man and have a conversation with a young man, with an older man, have the one-on-one, hello, how are you doing? Go to the supermarket, somebody, looking at the at a banana, and a man approaches you. No, maybe that banana is not good. Maybe you could choose this one that's fresher, because that's what social skills, you create your social skills by being out there. And unfortunately, a lot of these young ladies have no idea how to communicate with other people, and they are actually lost in this world.
Oh my goodness, it's so true. We've got Jay Shar in the house. He says bitter people tend to hurt innocent people. So yes, ladies, especially us older women, I'll put that on us. Whatever, relationship disappointments that we had, that's on us. It's not on the children. But what you're talking about, Lucy, I remember, and I never really got it when he said it, but Kevin used to say a lot of modern women are socially awkward. And I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't want to believe it because, ladies, okay, I'll speak for myself, but we grow up playing with dolls and reenacting, things and, serving and cooking or just being like social creatures. And so that's why usually our communication skills, our soft skills, our caring, our nurturing, all of these things are usually light years ahead of boys. Now, of course, they bypassed us in, productive and being able to work. But I agree with Lucy. The more and more I talk to women, when they meet a man who can just stand flat-footed and ask them a direct question, you should be able to give a direct answer. And they're like deer in the headlights. It's like their programming is melting because nobody actually had a face-to-face conversation with them. It's really sad, ladies. And the older of a man that you date, he's going to be closer to our generation. And I'm 48. Lucy is 57. We've talked about this openly, but there are a lot of benefits to dating older, but you are going to be required to be able to conduct yourself and ask yourself, are you wife ready? So that was the first caller on this episode. Kevin basically, told her, I mean, he recommended therapy to everyone, but he was basically like, you've got, I hate to say it, but the daddy issues and, the fact that you're 22 now and you're still kind of underneath your mother's thumb and you're out here dating, ladies, we do need that. I don't know, that thing that men have, that scanning, that testing, that we need that in our relationship choices. If you have that, cherish it. Oh, oh my goodness, no, I don't think either of us are using a filter. Lucy just looks incredibly young. Oh, anything else on the young lady? Yes, I know. I want to be like Lucy when I grow up. Anything else on this young lady in the age gap relationship before we move on to the second?
No, but to think about it, she was 22, I guess 2 years ago, and 2 years have passed. It would be interesting to see or hear how she's done after that conversation that she had with him. It would be wonderful to hear that, whether she took the advice and the guidance, and how she is doing now.
I think about that often, I mean, thank goodness Kevin's channel and his estate is still making content. Even though he's not with us, he left us with quite the catalog. And I listen to these people call in, she's Benjamin Button. And I always think, where are they now? Because, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that is universal is time. My man says it all the time. Father time is undefeated. or like the old folks say, just keep on living. Like, we are all going to, hopefully come out of this winter, spring, summer, fall, and then it'll be back at the holidays again. So take these lessons and really kind of do an introspective, and if you're getting the results that make you happy and are leading you towards your own relationship goals, God bless you, and I mean that. But if you are struggling, if you're stumbling, if you keep making the same mistakes, you might want to do something different. Lucy and I, we do have the finishing school. I also do coaching and consults, but I think about these women often because what did that say to have to, reach out to, like you used to say, I'm just a guy on the internet to try and get some help. All right, so moving on to the second person who called in this episode. Now we're going to get to this young woman with the useless degree. Good evening, Next Level. And again, I'll drop the link in case anybody wants to chat with us, camera on or camera off. It's your choice, or you can stay in the chat if you want to. Oh boy. So there was another woman who called in, and I'm trying to remember her details, but I think she was in her 30s. She wasn't as young as the other one. No, she was also in her 20s. And she was looking for, like most of them, a high value man. And ladies, all men have value. Kevin made that phrase popular, but he used this example to show her, do you really have what it takes? And what he found out after talking to her, I remember now, she said she was living on her own. But she had a job that paid $2,000 a month, so like $2,400. No, $24,000 in salary. Kevin was like, I'm almost embarrassed to say, I think he said you can make more than that at the Quick Trip or the Circle K or something. She had another one who had said she was a size 4 because there was a size 4 dress in her closet, but she was, bigger than she needed to be. I struggled with this as well, but she was dishonest about it, and Kevin had to check her on that. But he started asking some questions about her life, and she has a social work degree. She said she was working in her field. But where I almost dropped my phone is she said she is over $100,000 in debt. I could not believe it. She has a degree that pays less than a quarter of her student loans. That right there is an entire lesson. Ladies, we've got to talk about this. I know Lucy and I did that that relationship scorecard a few streams ago, but what Kevin had to help her realize is that after saying, like most of the women, she wanted to be married, she wanted 2 to 3 kids, she didn't really want to have to work, he said, then what was all the school for? It's useless. And ladies, before you get offended, he's not saying that that piece of paper is useless. Some people may argue that it is, but think about it from a man's perspective. Hello, Mr. Man. I am coming to you because I want to be married. I want to have children. I want to stay at home with my children. I want you to cover all of the expenses, and I want to be on your program. And he says, okay. So like Lucia said, asset versus liability. A man is looking at how much he's going to have to take on. And ladies, when you come saddled with that much debt, a man is already thinking of the hole he's going to have to dig himself out of. It is so, it's hurting. It's hurting you because you have this degree that you don't even really want to use. So my point would be, ladies, Do not take out these student loans for these degrees if they're not paying you at least in salary what you're taking out in student loans. You are anchoring yourself to being part of the workforce, and you're lowering your pool of men that are going to be willing to take that on. I have heard of men that find out how much a woman is in debt and they're just like, no, because you're going to get married and put that at his feet and say, okay, please take care of it for me. When I graduated from college, I had $9,000 in debt. I worked immediately to pay it off. And then when I went back to graduate school, I found a job that had tuition reimbursement. So I worked during the day and then I went to school at night so the company could pay for it. And still, I mean, I do work in my field, but ladies, we've got to stop that. What would you say, Lucy?
I agree. And men will look at what kind of process did you use in your mind to go to college? As Maggie said, she paid off her first loan, then she found a job that would subsidize some of that schooling. Same with me. I paid off my student debt as much as possible before my husband and before I got married, and he helped me find a very low interest rate loan to switch my student debt. So again, men are more than happy to help out, but it's got to be something reasonable. $100,000 of student loan debt, that is something that, did she get a doctorate for a social service degree? So again, he started asking something about planning, and her planning was just out the door. There was it didn't make any sense. She started saying that she was going to work to pay off the debt before getting into a marriage. And he's like, but how are you going to do that if you're living paycheck to paycheck? And then she went back again. What I plan to do is to pay off my debt, and then this is what he said. This is why women need men, because they would have never allowed her to get into this debt for a useless degree. And it's true. I know that my dad helped me figure out how I wanted to do this schooling thing. And again, I went to school when I was older because, I got married very young when I was, 22, married for 11 years, then I got divorced amicably. It was something that my ex-husband and we knew that we weren't right for each other. Everything was good between him and I, and then I moved here to California, and then I decided to go to school for something that was reasonable, not $100,000 of a debt. I mean, I knew that I wasn't gonna. I would. It's just it would be something so stressful to think that you have that debt, and then you're gonna bring it into a relationship. That is something that probably the return on investment that a man is thinking when he's getting into a relationship is not there. There's no return, there's no investment.
That is so true. So many points here. And I see what Next Level's in the chat saying anything that you don't use is useless. And ladies, I know we have been sold that paper on the wall, that gold star. And I'm a gold star girl. I love the accomplishments too. But if we're really being honest, and I said this before, find any woman my age, even younger. I see them now and they're 30, 35, and they're just like, oh, all right, I've done it for 10 years. I'm good. Like, I want to get out of the workforce. I want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I want to, pump the brakes and do something a little bit less stressful. But you essentially have a mortgage that you have taken out. And I went to a private school, but I worked every break, summer break, spring break. I worked. I had some scholarship. I worked. And then you can figure it out, ladies. And this is unfortunately not uncommon. Women are out here with tens and 20 and $100,000 of debt. Ladies, a man will look at that and say, oh, absolutely not. And here's why. A lot of times women, we don't understand men. To us, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, swipe the card, okay, so sign the paper, okay, it's just like this number, like we don't really think about it. A man looks at debt or money as time because he's thinking about the years that it either took him to achieve certain success. That's why when men get, raked over in court and in family systems, it's brutal for them because they're looking at the blood, the sweat, and the tears and the years that they won't get back. So when you come with 40, 50, $100,000 of debt and you just put that on him, he's got to dig himself out of that. Why would he do that when he can find somebody who is untethered without all of that? So you really want to think about not just what it does for you, but what it means to him. And next level is saying many women think that having a degree qualifies them for a high earner. Y'all, I'm telling you, I say I'm a reformed modern woman. I thought that all those accomplishments, professional accomplishments, would translate into personal accomplishments, and they don't. It's great. It makes you proud. You like it. Your parents are happy. Hopefully you're working in your field and it's something that you enjoy. But I was doing a group coaching session earlier. Ladies, you really have to think about the reason why men marry and what they're looking for. And it's not to have a woman with a whole bunch of accolades that are useless to them. Because this, social work degree, I can't imagine getting paid 25,000 and owing 75,000 more. But that's where she found herself. Lucy brought up another point. I took a note about it. He told her, he asked her, like he always does, where's your father? And unfortunately for this young woman, her father passed away when she was either in her teens or early 20s or something like that. And he said, this is why you ladies need men, because men don't allow us to get into the kind of trouble that we do on our own. And I hate to say it, ladies, but I'm the same way. I remember being young and having my first job and kind of having a little bit of money and thinking, oh, this or that. And I hate to say it, but sometimes people will kind of prey on or take advantage of, somebody who's a little bit naive, wide-eyed and excited. And I remember there was like, I don't know if it was like an investment or insurance or somebody, was like, oh yeah, we've got this opportunity or whatever it was. And I went and I listened to the presentation and I just kept thinking to myself, that seems like a lot of money. I just kept thinking to myself, like, I'm not sure. So I sat and I listened to the whole presentation. When I got to my car, I got my phone, I called my dad, and I told my father about this insurance or investment or whatever it was. And he said, Maggie, you don't need that. And I was like, okay. I didn't know the reason why. I didn't need to know why. But men are so valuable, ladies. And I hope you have a good relationship with your father. But if you don't, brother, uncle, a man who can help you take emotion out of your decisions, because that's what we do. We get caught up in it and it's a good idea. And I tell my man all the time, man, you just always shut down the fun, because I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing. Here he comes with the 20 questions. Who is that? Where are they? What is that? Give me the address. What is the plan? And I'm just like, oh, but I've learned now I don't burden him with anything until I've done all the research and I say, I know you're going to ask me, so here it is. But it's so important because Kevin told that young lady, your mom allowed you to get into $100,000 worth of debt for a useless degree. And now she's going to have to figure this out because let's face it, she was average to cute. She was probably, for her age, bigger than she needed to be per Kevin. And she wasn't a great candidate. She was just like an average woman. But you're coming with a ball and chain and asking a man to take that on. They're not going to do it, ladies. They're not. Don't do it. Hello, Linda. What would you add to that, Lucy?
Yeah, and that made me think about all of these young ladies that are getting into these MLMs, multi-level marketing um, uh, things that they're getting into. And it's because we, as women, we like to follow each other. We like to the brand new trend, the newest thing. I see this thing, on TikTok and YouTube. The newest trend is women sharing their life stories while they're doing their makeup. Everybody's doing it now. And it's like, really? Who wants to hear all that while you're doing your makeup? But believe it or not, they have followers. But anyway, we as women, we tend not to guide each other the right way. We need that man, that level-headed, rational, this is how it is, to tell us, no, it's not a good idea. It's an MLM. It's a scam. They will tell you right away, we're going to get our feelings hurt because we think that we know it all. But they are seeing things, like Maggie says, they're hunters. They're seeing things from, an eagle's eye view, and then from having to encounter the problem head on. So they are the best to tell us, no, that's not a good idea. And and unfortunately, Kevin got the wrath of those women that did not want to be guided. He said to her, um, because she was a little bit, even though she had a sweet voice, she was a little, she was into the back and forth. And he said, when he told her, you weigh more than a man, she said, she started going back and forth with him. And then he said, see, that's the problem. Instead of saying, you're right, she was arguing the point. With a soft and delicate voice, she was still being a contrarian. So again, it's one of those things that he was trying to sound the alarm, but we weren't listening to that alarm. And here we are.
And here we are, yes, ladies. He said, stop lying. He said, we women have to stop lying to each other. And it's true. You've got to own it. If you know that you have a couple marks against you, you got to own it. And then you really have to overperform in the other areas that are important to men. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Next level says, many women don't want a man. They only want the lifestyle that a man of value can provide. That is so true. And ladies, I will tell you this. Men will give you the world. They will give you their best. They will give you the lifestyle. If you are what is important to them. I think, there's even like a scripture about this, about, seeking God's heart and not his hand. But you can think about it that way. When you're always like with your hand out and you're always just like, I want these things, they're going to be like, okay, you're that kind of person. But when you show up as a useful, encouraging, supporting helpmate, then he's like, what do I need to do to keep you around? It's amazing what you can get when you think of being what they need first. We have Auntie Jenny in the house. She says evening. Oh, I know it's super late in the UK. Team Peterson says, salute and thank you to the most important coaches in the world, femininity coaches, what men are selling out to worldwide. Oh, yes, absolutely. And ladies, that femininity, it never ages. It transcends all cultures and countries. We're going to have to really be intentional about that in this modern day and age. Yeah, my dad told me it was a scam, and I can't even remember what it is, but because I'm not like a contrarian, I just sat there for the presentation. And I was like, okay, and I got to my car, and I was like, Dad, and I'm just so grateful that 2 words from him, Maggie, you don't need that. After an hour or whatever that was, oh, I'm so grateful I had that. Next up was this Maggie was about to be selling prepaid legal. I don't know what it is, but I embarrass myself and put myself out here on the hot seat to share. Ladies, we're all a work in progress, right? We're not just like perfect, but these are the things that men provide for us. So when you say, oh, I don't need a man, or he's got to be making this much, you really discount. I tell my man all of the time, one of the things I love about him is his decision making. He is so decisive. I am indecisive. I am impulsive. Ask Lucy. I can't even look at a menu. I just like I freeze. I struggle. And so like if I get too many choices or too much information, I just like lock up. And I love the way a man can just kind of cut through it. And the reason why, ladies, especially your father or your brother or your uncle or any man that relative or someone who really cares about you, he has a vested interest in you doing well. You are part of him. You are a reflection of him. You're part of his name, his legacy, or whatnot. So they don't want us all like rolled up in someone else's, but to the world, to whoever was selling me the scam, or to the colleges. And I come from academia, but to these businesses that are kind of turning like higher learning into, like money making or whatever, they don't care for us. We're just another number. Like if you don't take it, someone else will. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, next. And so you can find yourself just getting caught up in that machine. And then you're like, how did I get here? And they're just like, well, you owe us now. But that's what I love about what Kevin said to the other woman. We get so used to just throwing men away because they don't check some silly box. And then you miss out on the benefit that men bring because they see things that we don't see. They hear things that we don't hear. Their counsel to me is priceless. That's why when the men speak, I'm always like, I want to hear it. Because in my mind, it's like, y'all already know. I've dropped the link. We've got about 15 more minutes in case you guys want to chat with us. Lucy, would you add anything?
Yeah, and I was thinking about, you know, these women wanting high value men. They think that they are millionaires on every other corner. Like you're gonna snatch, you're gonna get a millionaire, just because you look a certain way. And these millionaires are very careful with their money. They know exactly what where they want to invest that money. And if you do not look and you represent yourself in a way that is going to be um, hurtful to their brand, you're just going to be another pretty face. They have pretty faces all the time. Men with that kind of access to money and status, they just don't want that, next level average woman when $100,000 100,000 student loan debt. Can they pay it? Probably. But they're not going to pay it. What is it, your bank? So again, there, and I don't know where we get this idea that there are millionaires everywhere. A man that earns good money, that's a high value man to me. And that's where I think that we are missing the point. These women think that a high value man is those that take you to Dubai, to all of these places. For what? Just to pretend that you're living a high value life? So anyway, yeah, it's really troubling, and I'm hoping that maybe a bad economy is going to bring some of those women down to earth. And it might take that for them to say, wow, I let some good character man go away because, he didn't meet my standards. Whereas it's not according to us. We need to meet the men's standards. They are the ones who choose us.
Yeah, excuse me, I agree. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Dr. Cash is saying women are a magnet to that. Yeah, we love the shiny things and we get excited about it. Dr. Cash says, no need creams, jewelry. I know. Don't take me to a Tupperware or Mary Kay or whatever. Like I'm good. I know. Who do we have always watching? Brandon L. Jet, such a huge supporter of this channel in all of our channels. But it's so true, ladies. I think that this misconception, and I think my man, well, he does. He's got over 1 million portfolio, but I've known him before that. But the thing is, ladies, men that have money, they didn't get there by being reckless with it. They are very, very intentional down to the spreadsheet level of what they spend and what they don't. So when they want to bring a woman into their world, you've got to demonstrate that you are already good with money and like handling it, working within a budget, and being wise, or being teachable and like, yeah, I knew that college thing wasn't for me. Like you come untethered because a man is not, this is going to sound harsh, but Kevin said it, and we speak we support what Kevin said on this channel, and he said a man's purpose comes first, then the relationship, then the other things. So ladies, we really have to realize that to us, the relationship is first. We've been thinking about it since we've been little girls. It's just kind of like all consuming. Men don't think about it that way. They build the life that they want as far as they can on their own. Then when they're ready, they select a woman to help them get to wherever their next goal is. It could be family. It could be, feminine asset. It could be stepmother to their children. They have all these reasons. That's why you have to pay attention and understand what they're looking for. But a man's purpose and his goals are more important than him being with you. And we have to understand that. So you either get in line or he finds somebody else that will. I mean, Lucy talked about it, especially when a man is on his purpose. There are beautiful women everywhere. They just happen to always be where the successful men are. I wonder why. But it's no coincidence that when a man makes himself, he now has the leverage because, like my man says, they are the ones giving out the rings. So if we want their name, their ring, their covering, their protection, their provision, we have to make ourselves a suitable option because they do have options. Let's see what y'all are saying in here. Try Guy Travel says, I love the matching pearls, elegance, even in coordination. Aw, thank you. Yes, we always try to represent you all well. Auntie Jenny says, or a rare, honest older woman. Yes, I missed that. But yes, I think a man has his standards, and he's not gonna deviate from that because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. Team Peterson says degrees or trades that don't get you into zero debt and asset building are useless. So ladies, you're hearing this from the men. So those of you signing up for these $100,000 social work degrees, and don't beat yourself up if you got caught up in this. Kevin did an episode of the schools have now become marketing machines. And again, I believe in academia. I've got big degrees and all that too, but I found a way to work and go to school at night because the company I was working for back then, they actually had 100% tuition reimbursement, which is very rare. Did I like the job? No, but I did it for 2 years so I could get the degree so that I wouldn't be in debt, because it's very important. And actually, ladies, it's very attractive to men that are serious about what they've built. It's not just the pretty face. Yes, you want to be attractive to them, but if you're coming with a whole bunch of baggage, including financial baggage and a degree that you're going to look at and say, yeah, I got this degree, but you really don't want to work and you want him to take over everything, that's not attractive to a man. Dr. Cash says, if you bring value. Let me just see. Auntie Jenny says, I was a tomboy. My femininity is now taking over. It's not easy, but well worth it. Yes, ladies, we've got to choose. It's work. It's work every day. But I do think the rewards outweigh femininity. Team Peterson says, femininity is the ultimate superpower women have. If you know, you know. Okay, you're still talking about my almost getting caught in a scam. I was young. Thank God my dad, he's like, Maggie, no, you don't need that. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to call out any companies, but I hear y'all loud and clear. But shout out to my dad and shout out to me for realizing that I don't know everything. And ladies, we don't know everything. So find a man that you trust, if not your father, brother, uncle, and ask him. Auntie Jenny says, my dad always tells me I can do whatever I want. He'd just prefer if I didn't. I love that. All right, what would you add, Lucy?
I agree. Shout out to you that you listen, because there are some modern women that you can tell them, you can show them that there's that hole that they're jumping in, and they're still going to jump into that hole to just test it out. And then the consequences. So it's a good thing that you listened. Um, it's funny that you talk about those degrees. I have a baby degree. I have a bachelor's, and the reason I don't have a master's is because my husband, when we were dating, he goes, "What are you going to use your master's for? You're going to get into more debt for what?" And I listened, and maybe that was one of his tests to see if I was listening to him. So, you know what? He made a great point. Once we're married, why would I want to go into a master's? I'm earning the same amount right now with a bachelor's than if I had a master's. So yeah, I mean, I would have probably, if I would have been on my own, I would have probably gone to a higher degree. But my husband saved me a lot of heartache and financial ache because he was thinking logically.
I love that. That is so good. And again, ladies, we're not knocking down education. Go for it, do your thing. But just know men realize that real work really runs the world. And sometimes, we get these pieces of paper, but you'll get the same salary, or you'll get the same, you'll be at the same level. So just, consider that when you're getting ready to saddle yourself, because it's going to limit your relationship choices. And I don't think women are really thinking about that. Next level says a man in the top 1 to 10% isn't looking for a woman to help him invest. He's not looking for a partner. Yes, ladies, you got to stop. Ask my man, a partner is all right, 6 a.m., let's go. We ride out. I'm not trying to do it like that. No, nope, nope, nope. Gifts Present says, hi, I am new. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for subscribing. Yet we're going to be wrapping up. We usually go for about an hour every week. It's usually on Fridays. Lucy and I, or the Wives Club, is always open to women. I believe whether you are currently married like Lucy, formerly married like me, or want to be married like a lot of the young ladies who watch us, you should carry yourself as a wife before you are married, so that you stand out in the crowd like, that's a wife right there. And part of it, ladies, you see the title, young woman with useless degree, now she wants a high value man. She's making $24,000 a year with a social work degree, and she has $100,000 in student loans. And Kevin, he just flat out told her, it's not looking good for you. It's just not. Because you have two options. Either you find a man who's going to absorb that. Why would he? Or you work yourself out of debt. And he was like, but you're already living paycheck to paycheck. And that's when he told her, you would make more money going to Walmart or somewhere and stock shelves. So ladies, we can't fall in love with the dream that they sell. Team Peterson says, whether we make 80,000 or 8 million, men are business minded in every decision, whether it be relationship, education, cars, jewelry, or real estate. That's true. That's true, ladies. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I get my feelings hurt because I like the shiny things too. But he was like, that's a waste of money. And I'm like, okay. Purpose comes before everything with men. Oh dear. Next level says USC selling degrees for 150,000, and the top earners make 56K. Hello, escape the rat race. Ladies, this is important. And I am not a financial advisor. I am not a therapist, but I think it would be foolish to take out in student loans more than your career is going to pay you. I think that would be foolish. And the last one, Auntie Jenny says, I trained as a car mechanic when I was younger, not to compete with the men, but to complete. I showed interest in what they do. He still won't fix the car. I know. Yeah, I'm lost there. I need help. Well, that's what I had, Lucy. Anything to close us out tonight?
No, again, re-watching Kevin uh, dissect every one of our conversations. It's He's got a gift. He had a gift, and we lost something so precious. And I'm hoping that he's up in heaven, uh, hoping that things get better, because modern society is getting really hard, and I don't think that we as women can do great without a man in our lives. Just for out of, I'm thinking about, me getting older, 65, 66, having that companion next to me, and already my husband thinking about, if I'm not here, already making plans for me. That is such a it's such a beautiful thing to know that he's thinking about taking care of you, even when he's not there anymore. Even though I tell him that I'm probably going to be the one that leaves him, and then it's going to be different. But he says, no, I am planning for, heaven forbid something happens to me, I'm taking care of you. Do you imagine having that person that knows that if he's not there anymore, he's going to leave you okay? And that's the most unstressful, just incredible feeling as a woman, that you can have that in your old age, you are going to be okay.
That is so beautiful. And I hope the young ladies who watch, whether you watch live or watch the replay, we are speaking from our own life experience. And I promise you, when you get to our age, you are going to want that reassurance, because life is hard and we are not meant to live alone. I had a similar experience. My man called one day and he was like, "Hey, babe, I'm working some numbers and, making some plans. Would you want an annuity or a lump sum?" And it took me a moment to realize like what he was talking about, because I was doing whatever I was doing, singing and dancing. And it just like froze, because we don't think about the future like men do, women. We just think about like, I'm happy today, I feel good today, everything is great. Men are strategic. And he was basically saying, when I'm gone, do you want me to set up something that you get income every, I don't know, month, year? Clearly, I don't know. Or do you want a lump sum? And it just broke me, because I was like, I'm walking around like everything is going to be this way. And I have someone who's thinking about me. I promise you, ladies, that is what you want. So get your degrees if you must, but just make sure that you are useful to the man that you have or the man that you want, and not with a useless degree that's going to put you in debt and you don't even really want to use. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and dismiss. The Wives Club is usually with you all Friday nights, but the first Friday of every month, which is tomorrow, Kevin Samuel's channel has new content. So we will all see you in the chat, and then we will see you back next week, Friday, for another Kevin Samuel's episode. So until then, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Lucy. And we'll see you all next time.
Adios.
Adios.